The families of military veterans, first responders, and other public safety personnel take on extra demands related to the occupational risks and requirements of the job. Garnet Families provides access to free resources in community that have a positive impact on well-being of families before issues arise. With me in the studio are Heidi Cram and Lisa Delaney from Garnet Families Network. Tell me about Garnet Families Network.
We're a network based at Queen's, and we're looking at recognizing and responding to the needs and gaps that these families, so military, veteran, and public safety personnel across Canada, are experiencing through research and then resource sharing.
Tell me a little bit more about the clients then. What exactly is a public safety personnel? What falls under that guideline?
Public safety personnel comes out of the Federal Ministry for Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness. So that includes 17 different sectors. So the ones that people are most familiar with would be fire, police, paramedic. We also, under that umbrella of public safety personnel, include things like folks who work for border services or Coast Guard search and rescue. There's a variety of different, even the dispatchers, the communications workers who are embedded often within those other sectors, but are a vital part of the overall response to public safety.
Okay, so how do you support these families?
I, as the network lead, kind of go out and hear what families are needing. There's lots of needs and gaps for them, and as well as those who serve and support them. So you think about healthcare providers that support them, and peer support groups that support them. And so we hear those needs and gaps, bring them back to the researchers who do research, and then we build resources. So one of the resources that was built in collaboration with the University of Regina and PSPNet was PSPNet Families, which is like an informational well-being hub for what it means to be on the job as these families serve alongside.
Okay. One of the things I believe is key to this is reaching families before an event happens, some tragedy, some trauma. Can you talk a little bit more about that preventative component?
Certainly with PSPNet Families, we really wanted to make sure that we had those upstream resources where people could understand, well, what does it mean to be on the job? So my spouse or significant other or my child has joined the police force or the fire service. What does that mean for what I can expect in terms of the family? What does that mean for the kind of risk that they're going to be associated with or coming, what kinds of calls are they going to go out to? But how are we also going to understand how to manage these jobs are 24/7, so somebody's got to go to those calls. Everybody in every community needs people to show up for those calls. So if we know that there's that, the work wants them at any time and the family wants them whenever they want them, then there's going to be some natural conflict. So helping people understand the nature of that work family integration challenge across the life course for the family, because what might be when you're 20 is not when you're 40, is not when you're 60. And so who's in your family changes, and what the needs of the family are changes. So we wanted to make sure that the prevention responds to the information and the skills and strategies that people might need across their life course.
Any family is always dealing with that work-life balance and those challenges, but with the added responsibility of the shift work and maybe PTSD and all of these other occupational challenges, that's what we're talking about here, that extra weight to deal with.
Absolutely, and I think that was where we tried to really use the research to help give visibility and shape to what is unique and different for these families. Because you're absolutely right that any family might relate to things like the logistics. How do I manage this kind of grapple of, well, who's going to do childcare pickup, drop off? If that changes every single day, that's going to be a very different kind of demand than if you both have predictable schedules. If people get called in and they don't get off work when they're supposed to because they're out at a call, deployed to the field, and you can't reach them, that's a different kind of impact on the family. So that's the logistics piece. Then there's the identities piece that really, well, people can feel quite out of sync with the community when everybody is celebrating, what was our most recent, May 24th or Father's Day? People are working on those days. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers who are working. So my husband's with the fire service. So on Father's Day, he worked a 24-hour shift. So we didn't have Father's Day this year. And those things are part of the fabric of the family. Like, that's just how it goes. So you have to figure out how to respond to those things, anticipate those things, how to have conversations about those things, how to find an alternate time to have Father's Day. So, but in so doing, you feel out of sync with the community. You can have isolation. So our police families can often feel isolated and sometimes unsafe. When, you know, how do they talk about what their loved one does? Well, they might say they work for the city or the province rather than for the police force. So there's a lot of complexities around identities and logistics. When people have to move for their jobs or can't move because of the job, then there's the consequences of that kind of mobility. That's before you introduce any risk. So I think that's what we've really found with the upstream, is to think about what is just the daily life of these families like, because those issues that all families grapple with are intensified, they're amplified in these families.
No kidding. Who's the Garnet family?
So it was really difficult to kind of name military, veteran, and all the 17 public safety families under one umbrella. And it took us 18 months of a variety of ways to try to name the families. But we came upon, thankfully, that the gemstone garnet symbolizes across many different cultures love, belonging, and safe return to family. And so once we heard those, that these families kind of demonstrate and shine forth, we felt that that was a great name for this network.
Nice, that sounds like a great name. Heidi, is that a garnet that you're wearing?
It is a garnet.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
Looks
it is.
Lovely. Thank you very much to both of you for coming in and talking to us. Hopefully we really reach those families who may not even know that they have public safety person working in their family who may not be aware of this existing. So thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks so
Thank you.
much.